Hey guys, Laurenann here today, and today I have something that I haven't done in like almost a year, and that is a book haul. The last book haul I did was in June of 2015, and it is almost May. So I think it's about time that I do another one, and I am not going to show you all of the books that I have acquired over the past year practically, because that would be a lot of time. So I'm just gonna show you guys some books that I've purchased that are a bit more experimental and outside of the comfort zone of what I've read, which is YA, fantasy and contemporary novels, and Jane Austen. The first one is by Kate Atkinson, and it is Life After Life. It's about this girl who keeps being born and dying, and then being born and dying, and she has seemingly endless number of lives. And the premise is so interesting, and I've never read anything like it. So I'm really excited to read this and give it a go. And it's a pretty large book. It's a very pretty book. It's got the roses and the deckled pages, and like the inside is this nice little Baroque type stuff. It's a very pretty, well constructed novel, and I'm really looking forward to this. I'm excited to read something that is possibly going to like twist my mind, because with YA, like, most of the time it's pretty predictable except for that one plot twist that you don't see coming. But I'm excited to read a book that keeps me on my toes, and I think this one is going to do just that. The next book I have is Newspaper Blackout by Austin Kleon. We have been reading a lot of poetry in my English Lit class. It's the poetry section, and it has been amazing. I have loved it so much. I've read poetry before, but I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really know how to read it and how to like really appreciate it. And I guess there's no like correct way how to read it, but the way that my teachers taught us really makes me analyze poetry and look for that deeper meaning other than just like reading some words and thinking that's nice, it rhymes. So I'm really excited about this. This is blackout poetry, right? So he took a page, most of this is from a newspaper blackout, and he blacks out the words that he doesn't want to use, but he keeps the ones that he wants to use in his poems. And I think that's an incredible idea, and I've seen it done before, but that must take a lot of skill to be able to look at paragraphs of words and pick out the ones you want to create a poem. The next book is The Cuckoos Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. I am so excited to read this. This is a mystery. I love mysteries. Agatha Christie, I loved reading her books as a kid, still do, and I haven't read one in a really long time, and J.K. Rowling is like, she wrote Harry Potter, so I'm excited to read some of her more adult-oriented novels. It gives me some Sherlock vibes from A Study in Pink, where people think it's a suicide, but it's not really a suicide. So I'm excited to read this. I think it's gonna be great. Mysteries. The next book I have is a little pocket poetry, that's what it calls. So cute, so small, so adorable. Keats is a poet that we've been reading in my English Lit class that I just loved, and I happened to go to Half Price Books the day that we had read Keats, and I saw this and I was like, I'm gonna pick that up, because he is just such a phenomenal poet, and I've only read 3 poems, but every single one of them has blown me away. And his story, I mean, he died when he was 28, and he knew that he was dying. He knew that death was imminent from a younger age when he contracted, I think it was tuberculosis. And his poetry, though, it's so beautiful, and you can kind of see little flecks of where he's worrying about dying, but he's more concerned with living. And it's so phenomenal what he was able to do before he was 30, that most poets and just people in general, they don't master their art at such a young age. And it just makes me think, what else could he have done? It's phenomenal. The next book is The Martian by Andy Weir, and I don't really think I need to explain this too terribly much. It was a movie. It was a very popular movie. It was very well received. People liked it. The guy grew potatoes out of his own poop. That was a very big deal. The next book is historical fiction, and I love historical fiction. Majoring in history, historical fiction, it clicks. and it is A Constellation of Vital Phenomenon by Anthony Mara. It's a story that takes place over the course of 5 days, and it follows 3 people, I believe, a man, a little girl, and a nurse in a refuge camp in Chechnya during the communist takeover, I believe, Cold War era-esque. Things weren't great. Stalin, not fun. I'm not gonna lie. The book is just, like, physically beautiful. Like, it's gorgeous. I'm really excited about this. Historical fiction, culture that I'm not overly familiar with. I think that's something that I've really, like, found that I love, is reading stories from perspectives that I'm not overly familiar with. Russian culture, Chechnya, I don't know nothing about that. I don't know anything about, like, I mean, I know some stuff about Russian culture and Kiev and Rus because I took European history, but, like, the nitty-gritty things aren't things that I'm aware of because it's not something I've lived in. And Russia is such an interesting blend of, like, Western and Eastern culture because it's, like, it's right there. And just, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'll end it there. The next book is The Age of Miracles by Karen Thompson Walker. And the premise of this book is that story in which the world almost literally stops spinning, but it's more of a character study about a family. Just, the premise is very interesting, and that's really what I'm going for with these books, is to explore different ideas that I wouldn't have thought of. The next book I have is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I've read some of Plath's poetry. I've not read prose, and so I'm very excited about this. Her poetry is beautiful. I'm gonna read you the blurb on the back because it most definitely does a better job of describing this book than I can. It is a fine novel, as bitter and remorseless as her last poems. The world in which the events of this novel take place is a world bounded by the Cold War on one side and a sexual war on the other. This novel is not political or historical in any narrow sense, but in looking at the madness of the world and the world of madness, it forces us to consider the great question posed by all truly realistic fiction. What is reality, and how can it be confronted? Esther Greenwood's account of her year in the Bell Jar is as clear and readable as it is witty and disturbing. And that is from Robert Schultz, who is a New York Times book reviewer. I'm excited. This is a classic piece of prose, and I'm looking forward to it. So the last book is technically YA fiction, but it is a contemporary book in a genre, like, dealing with something that I've never really read before, and it is Not After Everything by Michelle Levy. I was sent this book for review, which makes me so happy because I've never really been sent, like, I've been sent, like, a few books for review, but this is, like, the prettiest book I've ever been sent, and it's, like, it's the real deal, guys. Like, I've made it. Not quite, but I'm getting close. And it's so pretty. The subject matter, however, is most definitely not pretty. It deals with domestic abuse and violence and suicide and a lot of just heavy topics, but the perspective that it's told from is a teenage boy his girlfriend kills herself, and then his dad is abusing him physically and probably emotionally. And this kid is, like, the quarterback of the high school football team, like, Mr. Popular, charms everyone, and it's not really somebody you would think would deal with these issues just stereotypically, purely, but abuse is something that happens to all kinds of people, not one specific group. I typically think of disadvantaged women, and it's important to know that that's not the whole story. It's a big part of the story, but it's not the entirety, and that abuse falls along all socioeconomic lines. And I'm really excited to read it from a perspective that we don't usually hear from, because men do get abused, and sometimes it can be just as bad as women. Abuse is abuse regardless of who it happens to, and it's an important conversation to have on both sides, and I'm really excited to read a book that deals with that. These are all books that I believe are going to make me think and develop more as a reader and more of like an analytical mind. Let me know if you've read any of these, or if you have any suggestions for me in the ways of new adult and prose and literature. I really don't have a jumping off point. I'm just kind of picking at random what I see and what interests me. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. If you liked this, give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, that's chill. welcome. Welcome to the fam. I just said fam. I will see you guys next time. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are in this great big world of ours. And bye!